All right, discussion around safety around the brushers. So anyhow, when basically when you pull the brushers out of a truck or the van or whatever, or a helicopter, they're going to come pretty much just like this, and it's just going to be that folded over. And so I'm going to show later on, once we get the harness on and all that, you'll be able to see a little bit more what it looks like when it's attached to a person. But overall, it's quite a safe machine. One of the most important parts is the fact that it's attached to you. So since it is attached to you, you can't really harm yourself. I mean, I think if you really, really tried hard, purposely, it might, but it's almost impossible, I should say. So, but the biggest worry is, of course, of the people around you or the people passing and coming by. So that's kind of the major thing. It's really just, it does have a long arc. So if it's attached to your hip here, that's about 5 feet. And then the blade's going to stick out even more. So let's just say 6 feet around. And we called our circle of death when we're talking about the hand tools and all that kind of stuff. So that's the most important part. And I'll talk a little bit more later on just about, when people are passing you and if you're upslope, downslope, and all that kind of stuff. But other than that, it's quite good. Of course, use your leather gloves. The different types of blades can be sharp, especially when you're trying to, put them on and crank it on and all that. And then, but other than that, it's pretty good. The biggest thing with this is I've got an old hard hat, but I had to try to get all this stuff out of the trailer, and as Chris will attest to, getting anything out of the trailer when it's fully packed is a lot of fun, and I didn't want to empty the whole trailer. The hard hat, you definitely want to wear the visor and then the earmuffs. It's not super loud, but you still should wear the earmuffs. But the visor is the most important part, and I would even wear safety glasses on top of that. As Brad will attest to, when we're on Aldridge Creek, we spent 5 days brushing solid, and when you're in a lot of alder, it'll chuck little projectiles at you here. I don't know if it looks like 303 casings if anyone's ever shot a gun, but anyhow, they'll come flying at you and they'll come flying behind you. So that's why you want to wear that, and the same thing with your assistant, the swamper, who's coming in behind you, and it's good for them to stay about 5 meters back because those things will come flying out at you and away you go. And then that way, they're up, the user's up there cutting, and then they're back behind you, and that's just a good safe zone. Okay, so harness, I just set this up for me so it would just be easier, but they all come with a harness. They're all a little bit different because we have 3 different machines. This is the biggest machine. It's called an FS 240. And then the other ones we have are FS 131 and one, what's the other one? 105? I can't even remember. Anyhow, so they're all pretty similar. This one here has a large pad to it, and the other ones, they will just have a really small little pad or even none at all. But they're a lot lighter than this one, so you don't need it as much. So the main thing is just kind of like wearing a backpack, really, is just trying to get it so where, some of the weight is on your shoulders and some of the weight is on your hips, and just to kind of get a good balance between the two, and just have it so it's, easy to work at it. It doesn't have to be super tight because, again, I think it's only like 11 or 12 pounds. But just after walking with it and using it all day, it gets a little heavy. And then you want to have this part here should be right at your hip or just slightly below your hip. And that'll keep it really balanced. So as I said before, it's going to come like this. You can loosen off this thing here, and right in here, there's a bunch of springs, and it's spring loaded. So you don't want to take this completely off because then the springs will fly out and then away you go. Generally, you're going to have the throttle on your right, and then this is just the other stabilizing arm. So away you go. So as you can see, loosening this off, you could adjust this back and forth. And then also the main tool that comes with this is just a multiple wrench that does the spark plug. And the other end is what they call the Torx end. And this is the pivot point here. And this pivot point here, you can just put this in here, loosen it off, and slide it up and down, and that'll help with your balance. Let's see if I can make sure I don't hit anyone like Brad. So again, just hook it in here. So when you have it adjusted, it should just barely let go to the ground. So if you let it go, obviously you don't want to have it balanced so it comes up, and then it could be a bit of a hazard. But also, you don't want to have it where it's so far down, then you're constantly lifting. Again, it's just like this now is just super light. It's just balanced in there, and then away you go. All right, so we'll start at the engine side of things. So first of all, it's a two-cycle engine, so that means that it's got gas and oil combined together. So there's kind of two ways of doing that. There's either using the proper oil. It's not just any oil. So you want to get power tool oil, and you would take this and then you would mix it with just premium gas. Burns better. So this one is pretty standard, 100 milliliters. That goes perfectly in a little 5-liter gas can. And then make sure you get everything out of here, and then make sure you shake it really well, because it doesn't like it when it's 40 to 1 or 60 to 1. Try to do that. We've changed. You might have saw the gas can outside. So there's a pre-mixed can of gas now that we pretty much use in all the trips. And it's what they call super fuel. It doesn't have a lot of ingredients in it that eats away at all the seals and things like that. You can leave it in the machine for up to 2 years. It's stable. So it's really good. There's a lot of advantages to it. And it's always mixed at the right thing. So it's where, we have a lot of volunteers. Everyone has kind of done it, kind of knows. It's the way that the GDT runs as a volunteer organization. So we found it's just better to use that for how much gas that we actually go through. And these things pretty much, they run on fumes. You won't believe, you'll tire out way before you're kind of, before the thing runs dry, and you're usually going, come on, run out so I can have a break. So that's it for there. Spark plug on this one is pretty simple. You generally shouldn't have to do too much with a spark plug. This one comes right off. And then you can just easily pop this off, take the spark plug out if it's like, say, fouled up really badly or whatever, it's just not starting. So with the spark plug, other than fouling, there's not really much it's going to go, because our spark plugs are changed. So from the start of the season to the end of the season, you're not going to wear out a spark plug generally, so it's only fouling. And then the other thing that I have is I've got a little gauge. And I make sure, even sometimes we've got so many trips on the go, we'll have the machines come in halfway through the summer, and then I'll do the same thing. If they've been used a lot, I'll tear them apart and rebuild them, and then send them out again with all new stuff. But if the spark plug's good, I'll just adjust the gap, which is the big thing. Yeah, and away you go. So that works out. Some of the smaller machines, there's 2 screws here, and then there's 3 screws at the back, and that's how you have to take that off and take this off in order to get at the spark plug. So it's a little bit more of a pain. But again, it's not really something that you have to do a lot. So it's just thought I would show you. With the air filter, most of the air filters that we have are not really cleanable in the field. Like they either use a solvent, or I have a special spray that I soak them in. Yeah, they're not. None of them are oil soaked anymore. The technology is just changing or whatever. These are still like the older paper filter part, and I'll just blow it out with my air compressor, and away we go. This one's getting, probably at the end of the season, I'll replace this one. Again, they're not super expensive, but it's good. But when you're out there, each day, just take it and just get the heavy duty amount of stuff out. That's really all you do. Don't blow it like this and blow right into there. I've seen people do that. We're trying to keep everything out of here. That's the whole idea of these. I'm just saying, seed it all. So, and away you go. There we go. And again, and when you're tightening all these things, just about everything that you tighten, don't over tighten them. It's just hand tight, just so it doesn't vibrate off. People have a tendency to really want to just do everything, and that just causes more problems. In the brusher bag, this is a typical bag. We have a dry bag, and there will always be a spare brand new spark plug. Yeah, because you're right in the middle of the day. You probably don't want to spend the time to try to use your lighter or something like that to try to clean it or scrape it off. Just throw a new one on or whatever. But again, with the super fuel that we're using now, the amount of like fouling or anything like that we get is so low because it's just burned so clean and nice. So not too big. This one here is a little broken, but most of them will have a little cord that'll keep this and hang here. And then the fuel filter's in there. So the only thing that I ask when you're doing and filling up the fuel is just take your time to make sure that dirt and stuff doesn't get in there. Like that's really all there is. So if you have this and it's covered with stuff, like if you're in a lot of alder and all that, it'll almost get like sappy and gross around there. Just take a second to wipe it off. And again, not above, wipe it off and then just wipe the rim off and away you go. And that's really all you need to do with that. The starter cord is pretty simple. It's just, pull up like any other kind of starter, like a lawnmower or whatever. Each day, just kind of have a look at it and just make sure there's no fraying or whatever anywhere in there. And then, because sometimes fraying will happen right at the top, and then you can actually pull it up and then make a new knot and adjust it. But you can fix them in the field. So that's good. What else do we get? Choke and the idle adjustment. At the very end, I'll open up the door for as long as we can stand it, and we'll start one up, and then I'll show you a bit more about starting it, because basically you're going to put the choke on, full choke. You're going to move this to the start position, and it'll lock in there, and we'll show that too. The main thing, and I'll have this all set up, like before they go into the trailer and before you guys use them, they're all set where like the blade is on there. I start it, let it warm up and let it idle. And when it idles, and let's say the blade is on there, then as it's idling, the blade will come to a stop, okay? So when it's idling, the blade should not be rotating, okay? Which makes sense because you want to be able to set the machine down and safe and all that. So there is a little, so if we can get our close-up guy with his phone ready, we can show that there's a screw here. There's 3 screws, and all 3 machines are the same. There's a high, a low, and a LA, which I call Lethbridge, Alberta. So that's how you remember. It's some unique German name, Laufauxel, which means idle. So you can basically just put the screwdriver in there, and if it's not idling enough, you can turn it clockwise. And if it's idling too fast, then you can turn it counterclockwise, and it'll slow right down. And then as soon as it stops, and that's where the idle is perfect. You shouldn't have to do that out in the field, but sometimes what can make a difference is elevation, exactly. So everything's adjusted at Calgary, which we're lucky at. Calgary is a little bit higher. But if you get up quite high, it can make a difference. So it's good that everyone kind of knows that and how can keep an eye out. Usually that's not a problem for why it's not running well, but I'll show you why that does happen. So right in here again, we can get our zooming in guy. There's what we call a spark arrestor. So all the chainsaws have them and all the machines have them. They're just a way, like from, of course, there's a spark and basically a flame that happens in the engine, and out of the engine comes exhaust, and out of the exhaust can come a spark. And so everything that's kind of meant in the backcountry, like the chainsaws, these, quads, side-by-sides, they all have spark arrestors on them so we don't burn the forest down. So, but the purpose of them is to make sure that sparks don't get out, but it also traps a little bit of the oil and the soot and everything else. So this one here, let me think, that one goes like that. There's not a thread in there, but it just fits in there by friction, so usually this will work. So this one is the only one that has one like this, and then the other 2 are on the side like this right by the muffler, but they're a tiny little rectangle screen. Just looks like screen that you would have on your screen door or whatever, but it's just rigid. And you just take a little screwdriver and you take a screw out, and then with your tiny little fingers, you pull it out. If you got fingernails, that really helps, and pull it out. And then what you do is it'll have, basically, I call it tar. There's probably a better word for it, but it's just burnt up emissions. And it'll cover it. So then the engine starts kind of bogging down. And same thing like this. Even though this is black, it's all clear. If you want to come and take a look at it, you can kind of see. I've got a, right? So yeah, so it's all cleaned and away we go. But if this is completely covered, then it'll be bogging down, and then just, you know, if you're by the fire at the end of the night and you can find a good spot, if you have a pair of pliers, that'd be good, or you could, I guess, even go like this would probably would be better, or you can take your lighter. No one smokes anymore, and especially in the GDT, but I think some people bring lighters so they can start a campfire or start their stove and stuff like that. Again, so now we're going down to here. So this is the shaft. There's actually a small little rod in here packed in grease, and so this really is just to keep the rod from getting, you know, bent and damaged. So again, same kind of thing. You don't want to bend this. This is the main thing. Okay, so this is set up, and I will discuss later on about all of the different deflectors in the blades. We basically have 2 blades that we use. There's 8 different blades, but we just use 2 of them. And really, we only use 1. But I keep encouraging everyone to use this, but there's hesitation. Okay, so this is this part here. If you look at it, this whole part here up to here, which slides off, which looks like that when it's not broken, is called the gear head. Okay, so on the side, there's a little thing that you can undo here, and then you can put grease in here. You don't need to do that on the field. If they were going to use them for maybe 3 weeks or in a row, like nonstop, then I would send some grease up and show them. But it's usually good for a couple weeks easily, and then I'll do that at the end of the year. So you shouldn't have to do that. There's also what we call a stop. So this stop goes in here, and this is what I got, this one here. It goes in here, and then when this little round part hits it, it actually stops the gearbox. And that is what you'll be able to do in order to put a blade on. So I'll show that.
So it's like the lock.
It's like a lock, exactly. Yeah. Just like...
Kind of like if you're using any other saw, you pull the trigger and it locks the gear, and then you can change that.
Right. Perfect. So if we're going to put a blade on, here's an example. So the hardest part, especially for my little brain, is that this is left-hand thread. Anything that spins, like your lawnmower and all that's left-hand thread. So even though you know that, you still kind of like, you guys probably have no problem, but I still have to think, okay, I want to loosen it, so I have to tighten it. Yeah, so it's not lefty-loosey, righty-tighty. That doesn't work. Okay, so this you shouldn't have to take off. That always just stays on there, and away we go. So if you look closely at this, you will see that for some reason it only has about, not even an eighth, it's probably a 16th of an inch proud of this. So this thing here is higher than this thing here. So I don't know why they just don't make it a little bit higher. But anyhow, I'm not the German guy that came up with this. So that sits there like that. Okay. So this, what everyone calls donut, is called the rider plate. And where's my thrust washer? Okay, thrust washer does not go like that. Okay, the thrust washer, the idea of it is to keep that on there at all times. Okay, the purpose of this is it protects the threads of this thing here. That's all it does. Okay, and the ancillary benefit of it is that it also gives about 1.25 inches of space between the ground and the blade. Okay, not necessarily what it's intended to do, but it does help with that. So then Again, we're gonna go, am I going opposite? Yeah, I'm going opposite, good.
Lefty tighty.
Yeah, exactly. So now I'm going to put this up in here. Okay, and I'm just gonna let it, it's right now it's actually touching the blade. Just gonna do it very carefully. And then as I tighten, you'll see it, I just have a little bit of pressure up on it. And now what it does is it goes up and it hits one of these things, and then it stops the gearbox from turning. So now I can actually tighten this nut. Now, so to go back, when we're talking about these blades, this is called a brush knife. That's the technical term for the thing. A lot of people call them the tri-blade or the three-pointed thing, whatever. It doesn't really matter. With these blades, yeah, they're not sharp. You're not gonna. They're sharp, but they're not sharp like a knife where you're gonna get it. It's only, there's a 30-degree angle on there, and it's not meant to be super sharp. So there's no direction. It doesn't matter which direction this goes. So if you look at this is called a deflector, by the way. And there's an arrow on the deflector, and I think there's probably an arrow on the top. Yeah, there's an arrow on the top as well. So that doesn't matter. It's just showing you which way the blade is spinning. But this deflector has to go with this blade. And then when I talk about the other blade, it has a different thing, and it's actually not a deflector, it's a limit stop, and we'll discuss that. Okay? But it has to be switched. So that's another reason why people don't like to do it, because then now they don't want to have to haul this and that in the backpack. And all you're going to do is you're going to just sharpen this side at about a 30-degree angle. So this is supposed to be 1 centimeter, the end here. So you don't file it down to a point. You leave it there, and away you go. Now, you work 2 or 3 hours nonstop, and you run out of gas. You take the blade off, you take this off, you take the thrust washer off, you flip the blade. Okay? Now we're working on the other side of it. Okay? And the whole idea of these things is that you want to keep it even. So if this wears down more than these two, then it'll start to get out of balance and it'll wobble, and then that causes more gear problems. So try to, just file it and then flip it. File it and away you go. Okay. So the manual says for that brush knife not to cut anything more than 3/4 of an inch. Okay, so everyone here that's used it has gone up to like 3-inch trees. Okay, it works. There's no question it works.
3 inches is just an accumulation of a whole bunch of 3/4.
Hey, I'm with you, brother. I'm with you. I'm just telling you, I'm not an expert, but that's what the Stihl manual says. So again, it's a guideline, right? A little bit. And again, we're way out there. It's not, every time you can't come up to one tree and change a blade or whatever. So you got to make compromises. So it can. But again, I'm thinking that what is happening is people are pushing that too much all the time. So this is a circular saw blade. So like where it really excels is if you're cutting trees, like what we call regen. So, like those spruce trees that are like, 1 to 3 inches thick, right? And there's just hundreds of them. I mean, that's where this really excels, right? But it also excels in bigger alder, because when you get into the 1.5 inch alder or whatever, then it's stiff enough, because it's big, that this stuff will just slice right through it. And it's way easier on there. So, and you can actually fall trees up to 8 inches with this. So you can actually go in and make a notch cut, just like you would with a chainsaw, and then come in from the backside and fall an 8-inch tree. Okay, so if you have a lot of trees and a lot of big alder, and maybe you're on a trip where you only have some of that, at least try to get your trip manager, trip leader, or crew leader to have one of these. Like if you've got 3 brushers, at least one of these on the brusher. Then let them do that. Just leave it for them. They'll know. They can go last, and then away they go. And then I think once people start using them and seeing them how well they work, then it'll happen. But then they say, oh, you can't sharp it in the field. And I say, yeah, sure you can. So you want to have the teeth that are biting spinning the proper way. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So I don't know how else to kind of really describe that. So
So you're not flipping this one.
Oh, there, I see it.
no, you don't flip this one. No, you're right. Okay.
There's an arrow on the deflector there.
I see it.
Arrow on the deflector, and there's an arrow on this side. But again, this is not the deflector that you're going to use.
Oh, yeah.
Right? You're going to use what they call the limit stop. So I won't go through changing it, but it has an arrow as well, and away you go. This is just trying to prevent you from cutting trees too big. And it's also a little bit on the kickback side. So if you've ever had any kickback with the chainsaw or anything that spins, okay, this has very, very little kickback, and that's what makes it great for the volunteers and stuff like that. This has a little bit of kickback. If you hit right in here, there's a chance you'll feel it go out, okay? It's not going to go way out there, but you will feel it like that. So, and you'll get used to it. But if you know that it's just like the very tip of the top part of a chainsaw bar, you don't want to be touching that. Same kind of thing. So anyhow, so yes, they can be field sharpened and enough to keep it going for any trip, at least for 1 week. I would say even 2 weeks, unless you're using them a ton. But I think if you keep them sharp, even if the set's off a little bit, it's going to work fine. And I think you won't burn out gearboxes.
Smaller saws too.
Oh yeah. I betcha all of our saws are meant for them. So, yeah. So in every bag, again, you're going to, I don't have all the things here, but you'll have a screwdriver, as I mentioned before. In a bag, you're going to have the spark plug and the other main tool. That to brush off, away you go. I'll usually have a bag of rags. You'll have your flat file. You'll have your stop. You'll have a spare plug. And some of the bags even have spare spark arrestor screens in case you actually drop it in the fire or drop it. So then that's good. And then I've been putting in these, it says right down here, 730 seconds. File is what this is. So that would be a special one that would be on there. That would go with that. And then, so your blades are stored in here. And in there is filing instructions on there. And I've got them, this is just kind of my one for the shop. This is what it would normally look like. And then fold it over, I laminate them. And then I'm even, because people argue with me again, but not everyone knows how to put these together.
Yeah.
And so
Especially in the field, if you take it apart and drop it, and you're like, oh shit.
if it's your first time, that's right. No one's behind you. They go, I just got to get it going. And yeah, no. And that's again, it's all natural. But so what we're trying to do is to take that part out. So I'm taking this and then I'm going to print off a whole bunch of them. And I'm going to laminate them and also put that in here. I think it might have been you or someone else suggested that. And I was like, oh yeah, that should be in there as well. So that just kind of goes on there.
And it's a manual in the bag? Or not?
No, we can't trust you guys with the manuals. That's way too much information for the users.
It could be a parts. I mean, the little holes in the back and things. People are going to say, what the hell are these? And it'd be nice to be able to see a diagram and say, that's the LA, you know.
Right.
Something like that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm
Maybe not a whole manual, but maybe just a parts list or
right.
something like that.
These key things, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I'll work on it.
Or
I'll
the
work on it.
traders could always get a PDF of it and have it on their phone or something.
Well, I mean, that probably is the best way because everyone's carrying a phone and that. If it's downloaded, right, then yeah.
You just have to have access.
Yeah, exactly. But so again, but the big part is that it's, you know, it's like the story that goes around, right? You know, so, but now we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 people that actually know what's going on that can sit there. Yeah, so there's 7 different stories, but there'll be 7 better than what they were before,
Yes.
right? And so away we go. And again, all of this stuff is a learning process. You know, I'm learning all the time, and then, you know, trying to figure out stuff, and then go on YouTube and then go to the Stihl place. And then, I belong to the Arborist site, and it's all North American site, all dedicated to these kind of power tools, and people answer you, and it's amazing what's out there. So then you kind of take that, because everyone gives you a bit of a different answer. That's like, YouTube's very powerful, but there's like, everyone's got an opinion. Okay, walking. Oh, I thought I didn't do that. Okay, yeah, okay. So that's really machine. All the stuff that is good there. So when you're walking with the machine, again, if it's nice and balanced and stuff like that, and you're on level ground, I mean, you can, and if you're not, if it's like grass and I don't know, there's that green stuff that comes up that's got the big, anyhow, just light duty stuff or whatever. Yeah, you can just go like this, because that's almost our width of the trail, right? Tread and corridor. Thank you. Right, so you can just kind of going like that, and away you go, and then your swamper,
2 meter corridor.
right, and 3 meters high for horses. So yeah, you can just away you go, and it works really well. And then when you start to get on side slope, it's a little bit different. And also, if you're in tighter areas, sometimes the trail's going like this. We're trying to go around big trees and stuff like that. What you have to remember is this is attached to your hip, but this is still sticking out. So you have to remember that. So you'll go to turn, you'll hit a tree, and it'll scare the living daylights out of you at first. Oh, then you realize, oh, it's just a machine. Okay, it's not a bull moose behind me. And away you go. So and you'll get used to that. But also keep that in mind when you think you're way off the trail for someone to go by, the machine's still sticking out, and there, and away you go. So what I say, the safest way, obviously the safest way is every single time someone wants to get by you, you shut the whole machine down. Okay, I can tell you that's not going to happen, because then you got to take the machine off. You might be able to try to do that, and I try to do that because I'm lazy, but it's kind of hard to do. So you take the machine off and then you start it. So really, what I say to most people is just, again, have the machines attached to you, and then if people are coming by, go to the down slope. Okay, just put the machine down. The blade's now in the dirt. It's not spinning, just in the dirt, and then people can walk by you, even the machine is idling and all that. There's no real hot parts here unless they tried to stick their finger in and touch the muffler, but they're not going to do that. And if they do, send them back to camp. But yeah, so it's just going to be on there, and away you go. Okay, so this is Joe. Joe is the Western Service Manager for all of Stihl. So he was giving us a demonstration of how to use it.
You can also brush back by doing this.
So what I want you to notice, every single person who uses that, it's like a chainsaw. So a chainsaw is meant to go full throttle, okay? It's not meant to idle and halfway. You want to go full throttle with it. This is the opposite. You want to just kind of rev it up to go into a cut, and then let it, not break, but just let the momentum go, rev it up and then go. Or if you got small stuff, but you give it to someone, and the first thing they do is, it happens every single time. Okay, so lastly, to show you a couple things about using it and what makes it go a little bit easier. With our simulated elevation and simulated grass, right? We'll leave the best to the end. So, again, when you're in tight and you're on side slope, sometimes you're actually cutting like this, right? You're up really high, and away you go. So, and I've been on such side slope where you're standing like this and you almost can't do it. So I'll grab it like here, and then that way you're making sure it's not going to come back at you, and you can almost like just go like that to be able to get what you want. And again, it's just trying to deal with it. So when you're on side slope, it seems like that people are going to come along, and you got your swamper behind you, and they want to do the uphill side first. So if you cut the uphill side first like that, then I'm going to show you what happens. Then the swamper comes behind you, and then they're going to really be excited at the part of the day, and they're doing a great job, and then they start to get tired, and then now, oh gee, I'm getting this stuff and it's landing on the downhill side, getting all caught up in this. The uncut side, yeah, which is the downhill side. So that's why it's better to cut all of this first on the downhill side and get them to throw that. And then when you come back and do the second pass, then now it's not landing on there. So even if it lands a little bit on the side of the trail, it's all going to get down there at the end of the year as the snow takes it in the winter or whatever, and it's less thing. But if you don't do it that way, it's so much more work. Yeah, because then you come back for your second pass, and now not only are you cutting the stuff that's standing there, but now you're cutting the stuff that's there, and you just can't get at it. Yeah, so it's a real pain always. The downside.
That's handy.
Yeah, no, that helps. I see that the biggest thing, and then people they'll go like 2 kilometers, whatever, and then turn around to come back, and then they're going, oh, that wasn't very good. Now I got 2 kilometers of this to deal with. So that's what I tell you now. So yeah, that makes a big difference for sure. And then other than that, really, that's pretty much it.